In September 2019, the Royal Society of Ulster Architects, J.P. Corrie and the Maritime Belfast Trust launched the City Play Design Competition. They challenged early career architects to generate innovative ideas for play on Belfast's Maritime Mile. Now, the Maritime Mile is the historic area of waterfront that stretches 1 navigational mile and connects attractions, public areas, sculptures and viewing points on both sides of the River Lagan. The impressive all-weather structure is located on the water side, next to the Odyssey and Abercorn Marina, which was once the site of a brass foundry and Kelly's coal yards. Shipbuilding became one of the city's largest industries in the 18th and 19th centuries, and the hammering and clanging noises from the yard became as iconic as the yellow cranes that define Belfast's skyline today. The winning team took their inspiration from our industrial past and the immense shipyards that once employed thousands of people. Their striking design and innovative play area celebrate Belfast's maritime heritage, inspired by the constant noise of the hammering and riveting of metal that echoed in the shipyards. We spent some time with Kieran Fox, Director of the Royal Society of Ulster Architects, who explains to us how SoundYard will inspire young architects when working on future design projects.
The City Play Design Competition has been really important in giving young architects an opportunity to show what they can do, to really bring their creative ideas and innovation out to a public domain. Often we don't get to see what our young architects can do because they're not given the opportunity, and the City Play Design Competition has been a wonderful opportunity to almost reveal the great talent that our young architects have.
The inspiration behind SoundYard was really trying to relate historically what was the heritage of the site and what we could do now to bring it into the 21st century of play. It was really important for us to try and get something that people could relate to quite inherently without having to think too hard behind it. What we've tried to do is really create this amalgamation of senses, whether it's sound or touch or see or feel.
We've been working here for a number of years and we're well aware of the industrial past and the industrial heritage. The prototype was monumental really in just bridging that gap between designing it on paper and then really getting into the intricacies and the nuances of what we were really trying to achieve. The design was done before COVID, and the design then was all about interactivity, touching the various elements to create those sounds as you would have done previously in the past. Of course then with COVID we had to sort of omit that, and we were very cautious of that. So we implemented laser photo beam sensors in the roof soffit that could pick up movement, so it still allowed people to interact in a different way, but still have their input into the sounds that's created above.
Challenges inherently for us was how is this going to actually sound and what was the noise that would make. So the prototype for us was to make sure we were 100% convinced that what we were going to produce would be the final piece for build. And I think the design solutions that became apparent then were critical to also making sure what we had as a prototype was worthwhile doing. We were convinced by what was done in the prototype is actually the right answer for the final SoundYard piece.
SoundYard stands at over 5 metres tall and nearly 10 metres wide. The sculpture consists of over 500 suspended metal rods. The outer veil consists of reflective metal rods designed as an acoustic buffer and a visual mirage. And the inner veil consists of suspended sound tubes. Movement sensors enable users to activate a motorized system of steel hammers that in turn strike the hollow tubes to generate the nostalgic sounds of striking metal once heard in the shipyards. I took the opportunity to learn more about the sounds heard by speaking to 2 former shipyard workers, Bert and John, and Maureen, whose grandfathers worked within the shipyard. John, what are your connections with the shipyard?
My connection with the shipyard was I started as a message boy in 1966, progressed from being a message boy to serving my time as a cabinet maker, and came out of my time as a joiner and progressed through to management.
Wow, so how many years did you do in the shipyard?
From 1966 until 2013 I retired.
What's that in old money then, about 30-something years?
30 odd years.
That's extraordinary. If you went back there and we closed our eyes, what sort of things would you hear?
I just spoke to you there a minute or two ago. There was a sound there was very replicative of what you would have heard, and you would have heard high-pitched, low-pitched noises depending on where you were.
What was making those noises, those bangs and crashes?
In some cases it was hammers, in other cases it was hammer and chisel, in other cases it was caulking, in other cases, before my time, riveting.
And what do you think is going to be the effect of this SoundYard for people coming through? Will they have an idea of what it was like?
Well, I think on a good day like today, people walking past and hearing the tinkling, there will be a replicate of a shallow noise in shipyard days.
Bert, what's your connection with the shipyard?
I started my apprenticeship as a fitter on the 31st of December 1956, and then I completed my time in the yard after 44 years. That was in the year 2000.
So what is a fitter?
When I started in the engine works, and that's where they built the main marine diesels for the ships, and they built them piece by piece, and I was part of that team. Fitters, you had fitters, turners, machine men, all doing their own thing, and the fitters were the guys who put it all together.
And what do you think people will hear when they go into the SoundYard? Will they get a suggestion of what it was really like?
Well, it will help, because in the shipyard, of course, itself, when they were building the ships, you had a different set of sounds. You had the riveters, you had the welders, you had the caulkers. So it's very hard to replicate them all, but that helps to give a sort of a background appreciation of shipyard noise.
Maureen, what's your connection with the shipyard?
Well, my stories have actually come from my own mother. She's 95, and her and her 99-year-old brother loved to talk about their father, who was the joiner. They would have met him at the street when he came home from work, and they would have sat down exhausted, took the boots off, and they would have heard him telling the different stories about what he did that day, which ships he worked on, and it was a special treat then for them to be taken down to the shipyard quite often on a Sunday just to go for a walk. And my mother said that the sound was deafening because it was so quiet. She remembers being brought down on other occasions whenever the shipyard was in full force, as it were, and she said the cacophony of noise from the hammering, the banging, and she said yes, it would have deafened you, but those men got used to the noises. But one of her abiding memories is of lying in bed, hearing her father leave the house first thing in the morning, and the steel tipped shoes on the cobblestones. You'd have heard them walking away, and then you'd have heard other ones running, and she said the noise just seemed to get louder as all these men came out of their East Belfast homes on their way to work in the morning.
It's no secret that tourism will play a vital part in the recovery of the economy post-COVID-19. To find out more about this, we spoke to John McGrillen, CEO of Tourism NI, to find out how outdoor experiences like SoundYard will attract more visitors.
The Experience Development Fund is a programme that Tourism NI have put in place to expand the tourism offer in Northern Ireland, and what we've tried to do is make funding available to enhance some of our existing experiences and to put new experiences in place. The SoundYard is a really good example of that, because it means we've been able to add to the product and the tourism experiences that you've got here down Titanic Quarter, and gives people an opportunity to do more things outdoors, which of course is what people are trying to do during this period of COVID. Well, I think Titanic Belfast has played a major role in the regeneration of Belfast, and Belfast putting itself forward as a major tourism destination. And over the last number of years we've seen new product develop. I think the SoundYard here adds to that, because it gives people a real sense of what it would have been like down in this area and the sounds that you would have experienced when we were shipbuilders of the world. So in many ways it allows the visitor here to connect with the heritage and the history of the past of this particular part of the city, and we all know that that's one of the key reasons why people come here, is to learn more about Belfast and its past and its history. So it gives them real opportunity to connect with that.
The SoundYard would not have been possible without our funders and partners. Maritime Belfast CEO Kerry Sweeney tells us more about how these key stakeholders enabled this magnificent project to become a reality.
The Maritime Belfast Trust was set up over 10 years ago. Our role is to preserve Belfast maritime heritage, specifically to develop and promote Belfast waterfront as an iconic, accessible heritage destination. The Maritime Mile is what we call the 10 kilometres of accessible waterfront, and really it's about joining the dots up, all of our heritage assets. The SoundYard is an important part of connecting the Titanic Belfast with the SSE Arena and then over to Queen's Quay and City Keys. So it's an exciting play installation really aimed at attracting families down to enjoy their local waterfront, but also to inspire visitors to come to this location. So everything that Maritime Belfast Trust does is done in partnership with our stakeholders and with our key funders. SoundYard wouldn't have been possible without the support from Tourism Northern Ireland through their Experience Development Programme, through the support of Belfast Harbour Commission and through Belfast City Council. We also received commercial sponsorship from JP Corrie, and it also wouldn't have been possible without the support of our other key stakeholders. The RSUA have been instrumental to making this project happen, and also the support of the Odyssey Trust, who gave us the land and have been really supportive throughout, and Todd Architects. So everybody has given in-kind support to this project, financial support, and really done what they have had to do to make it happen. It's ready, it's open to the public to come and enjoy, and we look forward to seeing lots of more families and visitors enjoying our Maritime Mile.
SoundYard is open 24/7, so make sure you come down and immerse yourself in the sounds of the former shipyard. Enjoy the striking features when it's illuminated in the evening.